Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Party Hog Road Story Show. Hi. Nice to see you out there tonight. Thanks for tuning in to Road Story Show number 2. Am I right? I feel like I've done... No, this is number 3. Oh, boy. I labeled everything number 2, didn't I? I'm a dumbass. Way to go, man.
Doe! Doe!
Did I hear that?
Doe!
I guess I am hearing that dough. Anyway, cheers to you. Thanks for tuning in tonight here. Welcome to the Road Story Show. I am Mike the Party Hog, a.k.a. Mike Braniff, and it's good to see you. Here I am in the basement. You can see where we do the basement show right behind me there. What the hell is that hanging? What? Can I get the... Oh, there we go. What is that hanging right there? That's my... That's one of my stage props. I forgot to take that out of the frame there, didn't I? All right. Hey, so anyway, welcome to the show tonight. I have a special guest coming up a little bit later on here tonight. Mr. Brian Cymbaluk is going to be joining us a little bit later here tonight. Hey, I hope you guys can all hear me. Everything looks like it's working good on my end here. Let's see. Let's check things out. Check. 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 Is that right? Is that right? All right. Seems to be working. Hey, don't forget, before we get carried away here, the Party Hog Road Story Show is brought to you by Fortifications Security Solutions. Protects you like a fort should. If you need your locksmith needs, doors, security, any kind of change of locks for anything that involves a key and a lock and security, call my good friend, Mr. Fort C. McMurray at 780-868-6066. You can find him online at Fortification Solutions. It's right there. I've got my contacts in, so I can't read the small print. But he's a good guy, and I thank him for sponsoring the show here and, doing his part. So go, if you need anything, see my buddy Fort from Fortification Security Solutions. And as well here today, we'd like to remind you all to, well, you're already here at Facebook, so I don't know why I'm even showing you that one. But go to YouTube. Go to my YouTube page, please, and subscribe to my channel. I've got all my basement shows on there, and including this show, which will be rebroadcast a little bit later on tonight. I'm also an Instagram whore. I don't really do much on there, but I needed it anyway, and I'm not doing TikTok, and I'm not doing WhatsApp, and I'm not doing all these other things, so we'll just leave that stuff out of there. But anyway,
and now for something completely different.
That's right. We're going to take things into another realm here, and can you guys hear me? Because I can't hear myself. There we go. Oh, I know why I can't hear myself. That's why, because I'm already in the chat room. So I'm probably going to exit the chat room and bring Brian back in a little bit there. So I'll leave the room. Okay. No worries, Brian. I'm still out there, buddy. I'm just going to do this so that I can hear myself a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm here. You know what? Do I need to hear myself? No, I don't. I really don't. So we're off to a ripping start here, boys and girls, aren't we? Well, as is the usual thing to do here, I do have a sociable to have with everybody tonight. I hope you have your drink. Cheers to you. Thanks again for tuning into the Road Story Show here tonight. Cheers to you. Sociable. Booze goes up. Booze goes down. That's iced tea for all you kids out there. Now tonight we're gonna bring on the new format of the show here that I've got planned. Basically, what I'm going to be doing now is we're still going to have a road story, but I'm going to be asking my guests 3 questions: the good, the bad, and the ugly. What was your best gig? That's the good question. What was your worst gig? That's the bad question. And the ugly one is, what is your ugliest, craziest road story from hell you recall? Good, bad, anything you got, just the craziest one that'll make people's hair curl. We've changed the names to protect the innocent, that's for sure. So we won't have any lawsuits on our hands. We almost had one, but we won't this time, so we'll stick with that. And as well, too, with the new, I'll be bringing it up in the rear end. After we say goodbye to our guest here tonight, I will be following up with another small little road story. So here's the deal. For the next 10 weeks, I've got my top 10 best gigs and my top 10 worst gigs. And I'm going to be going through them all each week here. Starting off with, well, let's start the show off. Let's do it. There it is right there. The top 10 best gigs of all time. Well, I'd have to say the first one on my list here would be my very first gig, which is at the Eagles Hall in Kamloops on Halloween of 1982. I wish I'd had the promo picture to show up. It's just a drawing. But anyway, the deal was this was my very first gig. And the reason it was my best gig is because it was my first gig. It was my first gig with a band. I had lied my way into a band. I told them I played keyboards. And I was not a keyboard player. I knew I was a singer. They had a girl singer in the band, and they were rehearsing, and I quickly borrowed a friend's synthesizer keyboard, learned a couple of Brian Adams songs by ear, and went back and was hired as the keyboard player that day. But unfortunately, I only played keyboards for about 4 or 5 songs, and then sang, of course, Crazy Train and one other one. Excitement of Love by the Queen City Kids, and I used to hide behind the bass amp on stage, and my head would just pop up when it was time to do it. Anyway, it was a great gig. It was the first gig. It was the first one. Halloween, sold out, big hall party. It was amazing. So, I mean, of course, your first gig is always your best gig, and when you have such an experience like that. Well, that brings me to the top 10 worst gig of all time, which coincidentally is the Eagles Hall of Kamloops of Halloween 1982. The same gig, same spot, same venue, same night, same everything. Here we go with the protecting the names and the innocent, all that kind of stuff. But here's the quick story of it, folks. I went to go play my very first gig. I went to the rehearsal hall, and my beloved girlfriend at the time was interested in another gentleman, and I kind of caught them kissing in the parking lot. Now, I'm okay with this because it's 40 years later, they're still together, and I love them dearly as friends. So it all worked out in the long run. But still, I was in a little shock that day. Like, oh, what the hell's going on? I get my gear. I go to the gig. I play the gig, have the time of my life. I get in my car, and I'm driving home in my little Austin America, 1970 Austin America, like an Austin Mini. And I get up going up the hill in Kamloops to get to my house, and I blow the engine. Engine seizes. I end up walking home at about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, I had to work at my job at noon at Zeller's Skillet Restaurant the next day as a short order cook. So I couldn't drive my car. I had to take the bus. So I took the bus, never doing that before. I ended up being late for my job. When I got to my job, I told them about the party we'd had the night before and how I was still feeling the effects of it. And that was all they needed to fire my ass. So from my first gig, my best gig, it quickly turned into a gig where I lost my girl, my car, and my job, all in the same night. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a wonder he didn't get into country music. Why? Why did he not get into country music? I know, right?
Will evil never rest?
That's right. Country wasn't going to be on the deck for me. So there we go. That's my top 10 worst gig and best gig at all time. And this week they both just happen to be the same gig. So I'll elaborate on that other story there a little bit later on, or a little later on in the segments here. But I'll bring that down. And so I also want to before I bring in my guest here, I want to mention that he gave me my first real job. He gave me my first real job at a music store, Music Factor in Edmonton. It used to be down by the old legendary Rat Hole. He gave me my first job, and I drove him crazy. He was my first boss. I would walk to the 7-Eleven 2 blocks away with another sales guy, and we would come back with Slurpees in our hand, but very red eyes. But, it wasn't a very good salesman. But I learned how MIDI worked, MIDI, how MIDI worked and how to program stuff. And I tell you, the lessons I learned from this gentleman, not only for the opportunity he gave me in the store, but later on when he brought me in at Axe Music as a salesman, he taught me so much about promotion, salesmanship, professionalism. The list goes on and on and on. He's the drummer originally from Archer, who became the Models. You may know him in Famous Blue Raincoat. You may know him as the Joint Chiefs as well, where I was lucky enough to have performed with him. From Suicide Blonde out of Calgary as well. And I'm going to hit the buttons here and bring in my good buddy, Mr. Brian Cymbaluk. How you doing out there, my friend? I'm going to turn you up here. Or turn me up there. There we go. Now I think I can hear you. Oh, boy, why am I not hearing you? Oh, no. What is going on? Why am I not hearing you? I should be here. I'm not hearing any audio here for some reason. We had this working perfectly. Trust me, folks, we had it working perfectly about 20 minutes ago when we tried it out here. Is your mute button on, Brian? Nope. Okay. Tell you what, Brian, can we, I'm going to leave the room, you leave the room, and we'll both just pop right back in. Has happened once before, so that usually fixes it. So we'll both leave the room, and I'll talk for 30 seconds, and we'll pop right back in. Okay, thanks, Brian. All right. There we go. Yeah, boy, I can hear myself crazy now. All right, join the room. Go back into the room now. That does kick me out. Sorry about this, folks. Hey, it's a free show. You didn't have to pay yet. I look good today in this shirt. God damn. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna try and keep this as. Oh, there we go. I think I'm hearing you now, buddy.
How are we now?
Oh, we are good to go, brother. Good to go, Mr. Brian Cymbaluk. Here we go. I'm gonna pop you out there. Go like this, and boom, boom, and there we go. Look at that. We're rocking. There we go. Can you hear me?
Now I can't hear you.
Now you can't hear me. Oh, why is that going? Why? I don't understand. What am I doing wrong here? If I take that off, does that help? You can hear me? No. Take that out. And that doesn't seem to do it either then, does it? I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties here. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Yeah, I know. I can hear you, but you can't hear me right now. So go figure. Why are they doing this to me? Yeah, live show glitches is right. I'm going to do this one more time. One more time. I'm going to try this, okay? And I am going to come back in. And sorry, folks. This stuff really, trust me, we tried this a half hour ago. We had a nice conversation. It was all working really good. So hopefully we'll bring him back in here. And any luck on the that end now, buddy?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, yes. We got it now, brother. I can hear you. I can see you. Well, it looks like we're good to go.
I'm getting you through my laptop, not my ears, but that's fine.
Okay, that's good. Third time's a charm. Welcome to the show, Mr. Brian Cymbaluk. It is good to see you. I'm very sorry for the technical difficulties here today.
Not a problem, Mike. Nice to be here. Wonderful to be here with you.
Excellent to see you, my friend. So, yeah, you gave me my first real job, my real first professional job. And I tell you, I learned, I feel so bad when I look back on it now, how many times me and so-and-so came back from the 7-Eleven.
So-and-so.
Yeah. Well, we all know. And I was just young and gullible and hoping to make even a single guitar string sale in that place. But yeah, I learned a lot from that experience working with you for sure. And that was back in
watched you grow up a lot in those couple of years.
That was that was around the time of my first marriage and stuff, and my first real job, and trying to establish a life here at Edmonton, and you're a big part of that, and I thank you for it. So what I'd like to do is bring up a little bit of your history here. This is one of Brian's first bands, and that is just amazing. I mean, I not only do I love your shirt, but I think that I am such a fan of these classic old promo pictures. What year is this, Brian?
That would have been 77.
Wow. Well, at least you guys were out of the uniform look where everybody had to dress the same.
We were.
It was like there was some individuality coming into the picture about that time. So that's good. And then from there, this is from what I remember you from, because I didn't come to Edmonton until about the early 80s. But this is Famous Blue Raincoat, a fantastic Edmonton band. And I'll just say it, man. That hair is spectacular.
Yeah. It was something. It certainly drew a lot of attention.
How long did it take to get that up like perfect like that? Like,
well, believe it or not, when you have the right haircut and you know a few little tricks, it's not that bad.
So it had nothing to do with like gravity boots and hairspray and
I wish it could be. I wish it could be that romantic, but it was really a certain style of haircut that they would give you. And hairspray, absolutely.
That's so. And now, sadly, two people in this band promo are no longer with us. Frank Juscu at the top there, the lead singer and songwriter, and to the right there, Mr. Brent McNabb as well.
Yeah, very sad in my life, because I spent a fair chunk of amazing time with these guys, and both creative talents beyond words, and big influences in my life, brothers to me in a metaphorical sense. And we lost Frank many years ago, and we lost Brent literally about 8 years ago. And when somebody like that leaves your life, they've been instrumental. It's like losing a family member, a brother, and whenever those dates come back, like with Brent, it was just a few weeks back, early July, it was 8-year anniversary, and it brought that flooding back. And not that you need to go back and revisit, not that we'd ever want to necessarily put the group back together, or even it would be a nice option to do that. But just losing the ability to pick up a phone and saying, brother, how are you?
Yeah.
How's life on your end? And, what are you up to and what are you doing? Because these guys truly were visionary, creative beings. And I'm thankful beyond words for my ability to have lived with them.
See, what I recall is, like, I was doing my Aussie tribute band at the time, and coming out of that whole harder rock metal scene, and you guys were doing a lot of different clubs, nightclubs, venues, gigs, and stuff like that. Then I mean, sort of a different scene, but still all musical brothers, all that kind of way.
Absolutely.
I absolutely remember seeing promo and knowing you guys were on my radar when I was here in town, and of course, my first wife was a big fan of the band as well too. So
yes.
So I actually got a little video I'd like to throw up here. Just a short little video. Now, you guys had this on Much Music as well, too. I do recall seeing that pop up, didn't you?
It was very interesting. The lineage of this video was very interesting, because not only was it on Much Music more than a few times, we did not have a record deal at the moment. We were being courted in Toronto by 5 major record labels. RCA, which was changing to BMG, Capitol, Sony, etc. And because of that, Much Music was playing it, and we're getting good responses to it. Samantha Taylor played it on Video Hits on CBC, which was, for an unsigned band, was unheard of. And so there were interesting things happening, because the industry was saying we were going to be a next big signing in Canada.
That's cool. Let me just run the video. The video quality audio is what it is. It's from
It is
an
what
old
it is.
VHS, but we'll let this run here for a little bit. Oh, that's awesome. You know, I recall. I fully admit to you that, I mean, I was into a lot of different music back then, and
we ran in two different packs, but our packs ran side by side on the same nights.
That's right, and I'd be playing at the Londonderry, and you would be just down the road at Club John's. That's right. That's. But what I liked about the band so much was Frank's voice.
Amazing.
Frank did not sing like a lot of the, I would say, atypical singers did back then in bands. They were for that sound. They were going for a little more of an accent or a cleaner tone. He had a great tone to his voice.
Frank was absolutely a world-class talent, and without question, something that the record companies looked at very closely and said, this guy's got amazing star potential. His voice is that good.
And Brent, his lineage as well, too, back from the days with the Models and that as well. Did you play with him in the Models?
We just crossed over. Archer had a 2-year run as the first all-original band in Alberta. We didn't play any cover. We were out playing all the main clubs. Continental West, Continental South, Riv Rock Room, all of them, which you know well.
Yeah.
But we were all original. And that was an accomplishment in that sense, to be out there playing our own material, but playing all these rock rooms. And we were a progressive-y rock kind of band. Yeah. A lot of people said we were a lot like Kansas and bands like that, and doing quite well. And one night, Peter Bodman, love him to death, is living out in Victoria somewhere, and he heard the Cars debut album and decided overnight that he wanted to be Cars Part 2. It didn't jive that well with me and the guitar player, Jerry Van Dyke. We saw things a little bit differently, so we decided to go our way, and right at that point in time, the crossover happened. Brent came back into the band.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they got another drummer, Mark Cosman, and went on to take a bunch of songs that we were already kind of writing, rework them a bit into a more Carsy, new age, new wave kind of thing, and become the Models.
Cool. And I think I've got a copy of that around here somewhere, but I won't go trying to dig that up now for you. But now from there, obviously I worked with you for many years, and then you kind of got back in with Andrew White. And
after FBR, yeah.
After FBR, it became you rolled on into the Joint Chiefs, and I was lucky enough to be in this version of the band, which was version 4.0. But I believe you were in a few other versions of that as well, weren't you?
I was in. Actually, you were in 5.
5. Oh.
I was in 4, 5, and 6. You were in number 5.
And I still can't believe I got the gig for to be honest. I mean, Brent McNabb, Andrew White, there's you in the middle, there's me, and then to the right is Keith Retson Spalding. I mean, I just grew up idolizing you guys, and you know, with much respect for what you guys had done in your career. Not saying, you know, you guys were older than me, but it might have been by a year or two. But you guys, I had a lot of respect, and just the fact that I got tagged to play bass in the band, I was blown away. It was nice. The singing in that band was incredible. Your voice,
the band
Andrew,
in general was an amazing conglomerations of all these talents, but that's not without its own issues.
Talent and egos. Yeah.
Talent and egos, and yes, absolutely.
And you know, professional guys being kind of stuck in how they do things as well too. It's tough to change, and then it's, you know, it's nothing personal. It's always just like, oh geez, that's not how I like doing that shit, man, or stuff. Sorry,
and the lineage is even a little bit more incestuous because Andrew was FBR's sound man for a number of years. And an amazing sound man.
Oh, he's grows so good. Yeah.
That's how I knew him. And the truth was, one night after a gig, I think we were on the road. I think we were in Manitoba and Winnipeg. And Andrew pulled out a new darkroom studio recording, not released yet, where he was, I believe, doing some background vocals. And live in the van on the way back from the gig, he was singing some stuff. And I said, Drew, your voice is killer. I didn't know you sang. And that was, we're still in FBR and he's our sound man. Yeah. And I remember listening to it that night and going, you're an amazing singer, dude. And, you know, and then rocket forward. And when FBR had said that's where we're going to end, when I had left after our third major road trip to Toronto to see all the record companies, and we were a very polished band, and we sounded a lot like our recordings. And I remember an A&R guy coming up to me one night, and I'm not going to list any labels or anything, and he said to me, you guys rehearse an awful lot, don't you? And you know, you do this. Well, yes, we do. You're feeling really proud and everything. Yeah, maybe you guys shouldn't rehearse so much, you know. And what it was Tragically Hip, Cowboy Junkies, all the rough, rootsy rock and roll, not that rehearsed, was coming in. That's and he right. said a change was amiss, and we were like way too polished. He said, you guys are amazing, but you maybe shouldn't be quite so amazing. It was really strange. And I went back home deflated by that, and I made a decision to get on with my day career, and which is when I went and was basically at Music Factor, where I first met you and stuff in the formal thing. But and I took 8 years off before Andrew and Brent lured me back into Joint Chiefs version 4.
And my God, I mean, I caught myself on stage so many times, just looking over to my left and seeing you. I'm going, Jesus. Poor guy's got to put up with my bass playing.
Oh, you know what? I loved playing with you. I never had an issue. You locked in. You understood what it was about. It was always a joy. It was a joy to play with everybody in that band. The musical moments in that band some nights was staggering.
Oh, I know. And the song list.
Then we'd come off stage, and I mean, one guy would say, the band would be elated. One guy would go, oh, yeah, it was okay. And then one other guy would want to beat the living pulp out of that guy. And that's where all the fun was.
That's where I remember it. Like, I also, like, one of my favorite memories on stage is I think we were playing the Urban Lounge on White Avenue, and somebody walks up to Andrew and says something, and he goes, oh, I got in-ears. I can't hear you. And then so you had your in-ears, and then they went to Keith, and he had in-ears. So it was only me and Brent that didn't have in-ear monitors. We weren't old school guys. Just so they come up and he'd ask me something. I go, I don't know, ask Brent. So the poor girl went down to the end of the stage and asked Brent, and Brent goes, I don't fucking know. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep this a PG show tonight because I know that your wonderful kids are probably going to be watching this later, so I apologize for that.
You know what? Seeing you brought that up, my 3 boys and my lovely wife, I told them I'd blow them just like Freddie Mercury off Wembley.
That's awesome. So I'm going to play a real quick clip here from the one and only. It's sadly we didn't get much video of that band, and this is a video of from the mixing board. Not a great quality, but this is us playing at the Voodoo Lounge here in Edmonton.
Voodoo Lounge, yeah.
Which recently just burned down again as Diamond's Gentleman Club. It burned for a second time last week, and now they're finally tearing it down. But I'm going to throw this one in here.
The song features Mr. Brent McNabb on guitar.
And me in my bad shorts. What am I wearing? What a voice he's got.
Wow. Brings back those memories. What a voice. I mean, that song went on to have this solo from Brent that was just monstrous.
Oh, crazy good. I mean, I do that song in my Party Hog show as usually the last song of the night. And I the first couple of years I played it, I'm like, I need to find something better to do here. And then the light bulb went on. I went and I listened back to that track that night. And I copped a few of Brent's licks. It's like, yep, I need that one, and I'll take that one, and I'll honor him with this one too. And now, literally, when I do my solo, it feels like a bit of an homage.
Beautiful.
So I love it, man. And it was such a. But again, that was we hit that in the year 2000, and that's when NSYNC, Britney, Backstreet, all that stuff. Rock was absolutely dead and gone. We were playing "Beautiful People" by Madonna.
Well, do you remember why we did that? We did that as an anti-commercial movement. It was kind of like the unholy five.
Yeah,
and we had picked, what was that song?
Livin' La Vida Loca.
Livin' La Vida Loca. There was these 5 tunes, and we did them in a farcical way.
Yeah, Baby One More Time.
Yep.
Beautiful Stranger.
Yes.
Unbelievable. That was
unbelievable. Fun. And there was one more. But anyways, they.
Yeah. Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. This was. The idea was to basically throw people on their heads, because we were doing things by stabbing westward and all these cool bands and STP and U2 and all this neat stuff. And then all of a sudden we'd do Madonna and Ricky Martin. And here was the sad truth of it. We'd be playing all this cool stuff. Of course, the dance floor was there was a lot of room, and we'd play those tunes and it would be like
just packed. Yeah, I've always hated the song "Livin' La Vida Loca," but playing it is another story. Playing it, throwing it out there, having fun, going, I can't believe I'm playing this song on one shoulder, and the other shoulder going, damn, this thing really has a little meat behind it when you got the right guys playing it, and just. Yeah, even the Bye, we had a lot of samples and background vocals on that Keith was in charge of, and my God, the production coming from the stage was just
incredible,
absolutely ridiculous. It was,
and you know what? And you played that snippet of Purple Rain, and the very first thing I did, just even in retrospect, because you said I had to put up with you, baloney. Look at the feel of Purple Rain there. Yeah. It came in and it instantly locked. And that tune felt great right there. Just that little 45-second snippet you played, whatever it was, it felt amazing.
I always knew I didn't want to play over you. I just wanted to lock and play a groove and try and keep in time and hope to God I don't overplay anything. I wasn't trying to be like a busy guitar player playing bass or nothing like that. And the other thing that I'm thankful for as well too is that the change into the Joint Chiefs helped me play with my fingers and got away from all the years of me playing bass with a pick.
I remember.
So it was a big deal for me, and I got to admit, when I walked away, I truly felt for the first time in my life like, damn, I can play bass and I can hold my own. So it was a good confidence builder.
You grew quite a lot in that gig.
I loved it.
With your bass playing. And it's interesting because that was, like I said, that was Joint Chiefs Mach 5. Mach 4 was where we were a quartet. Neil McDonald, another great local Edmonton musician, was the bass player. And we were doing obscure covers. We would do B-sides. We would never do what was on the radio. Then we came along to Mach 5 with you and Keith. We started doing a bit more mainstream stuff. And then we did the Unholy Five. and every Joint Chiefs, then after that, the next Joint Chiefs was with Brian Groff and Mark Oman, both amazing guys, the most successful in terms of audience accessibility. Every time that we did a Joint Chiefs, I learned every time, and each one got more accessible. And so I came to Calgary with everything I had learned, because my life had always been original bands. And so when the Joint Chiefs was really one of my first cover bands, and everything I had learned in that 6 years, when I came to Calgary, I started Suicide Blonde. Mm-hmm. And Suicide Blonde was arguably one of the best bands in Calgary.
Oh,
and
you guys owned it there for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel like I'm stepping on anybody's, but everything I had learned in the Joint Chiefs, I put into practice. And it was a band that played for the audience and nothing but. And we did wonderfully. So many amazing memories with that band here in Calgary.
I tell you, Brian, that's something it taught me as well too. It was like, it doesn't matter what song you want to play, it's what song they want to hear, and if you play it good enough, you'll have fun playing it too.
Absolutely.
And it changed a big direction of my career, trying to get away from songs that I just they'll like this. It didn't always work that way. And
nope.
Volvo driving soccer mom, for example. God,
and I mean,
going to be big, but nope.
And in tandem, I mean, the other three guys with me in Suicide Blonde, Tim Thomas, Rod Bader, who you know well, and Vince Greco, we're all top-notch guys. So when we did the stuff that people wanted to hear, we did it very well. And it was an amazing 11-year run in Calgary before I had to shelve it take a break to get my health back in order.
And everything, speaking of, you're doing very well.
Everything's great.
That's good. Gave us a bit of a scare there, but all is well. Prognosis.
I was diagnosed with cancer. I went through a bunch of treatments. I'm completely in remission. Another 2.5 years, they'll tell the world that I'm cured.
Excellent. That's the best news of the night so far. I love you, man. So what I'm going to do is there's the history I got with you. So I'm going to hit you up. There it is. Oh, let me take my little button out of there. With me and my fancy graphics, huh? Look at this. What is, Brian, this is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Road Story show. And so what is the best gig you've ever played?
Okay, well, most of the gig information, stories I'm going to relay, are going to come from Famous Blue Raincoat, because that was the band that I toured for 6 years all over Canada with. Most of the other bands were local bands that were in Edmonton, Calgary. So when you first gave this to me to say, this is the questions I'm going to ask you, I thought back and I came to 2 gigs. There was the night that we played with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra in Edmonton, sold out house, Jubilee Auditorium. The conductor, George Blondheim, who, rest in peace, he passed earlier this year. I was at his memorial. He's standing behind me on his conductor's stand. He at one point in time turned around and coiffed my hairdo with a baton. but amazing. And you can't, until you experience a symphony orchestra behind your back playing songs you wrote, It's
Yeah, that's
it's staggering. And I had to argue with myself, do I do that one or do I do the time we got flown to Ottawa on Canada Day to represent Alberta? There was one band from each province. I have the letter from Prime Minister Brian Mulroney.
oh boy.
Inviting us to come to Ottawa and represent Alberta on Canada Day for a 1 hour set. There was going to be one band every hour. Tragically, he represented Ontario.
Unbelievable. Wow.
And the bands were amazing. So I had to argue with myself because we played to multi thousands of people in Les Bretons Flats. There was hundreds of thousands of people around in Ottawa that day. And but I still had to come back to the symphony because the symphony was out of this world. Rehearsing with them the day before, doing the gig, and that night, and my parents were in the audience. And
wow,
it legitimized everything you ever did, because you know how it is. You're in a band, and so people come up, your uncles come up, and they go, "So, Mikey, how's that little band of yours doing?" And you know what they always picture? They picture the band next door in the garage, hacking out Summer of '69. That's all they ever see you at. Well, this was like, here's my son, here's my nephew, here's my friend, and he's playing with the symphony orchestra. It's cool, dude. That's cool.
That's amazing. It just, to hear an orchestra playing stuff, I mean, that's
intense.
That's got to be something. So now we got to get to the bad.
Yeah.
What's the worst gig you've ever played?
Well, the worst gig had to be, I don't want to get in any trouble either, so I don't want to name names. There's a hotel in Kenora, Ontario, Lake of the Woods, almost on the border of Manitoba and Ontario, and amazing place. And if you're a fisherman, it's a really good place to wear plaid and
other than Seattle,
and know what kind of flies and rods and reels to use. So they booked. We played Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, and we had a down week before we were showcasing to a bunch of record companies and people in Toronto. And we said we got to book a gig. So they booked us at this hotel in Kenora, Ontario. They thought we were a cover band going to play Summer of '69. and we came in with our complete FBR original show of original music.
Oh no.
And you know the feeling.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
And it was an interesting week. And when you couple that with the fact that the band house was one floor of the hotel above the bar with one communal bathroom.
Oh, that.
And the only way that I could, I remember your Andre the Giant story.
Yeah.
Which was great. The only way I would take a shower is I went down to the local grocery store, bought some groceries for the week, and I took the bags, put them on my feet, put an elastic band around. It's the only way I go in the shower. So now when you want to talk, you want to talk bad and ugly, there you have it.
That's crazy. That when you step into a shower and you can, I don't even. Okay, we'll just stop right
when
there.
When you feel things, it's not good.
That's it's now. What is the ugliest road story you got? The craziest one? Something that happened in the van, in the car? Just the wildest story you got?
Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting, because when you said this ugliest and you said craziest, funniest, I had to recall the very first time that we went on our first road trip to Toronto, and Andrew White was with us. And long story short, we had gone again. We had played in our first stop was Winnipeg, so we played Tin Lizzy's. I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think it was a back three, and you remember Tin Lizzy's.
Oh yeah.
So we played Tin Lizzy's. We packed up, played till 2 a.m. Packed up. Literally, band, wives, girlfriends came out to the gig to say goodbye. We packed up, and at about 4 a.m. we headed off to Winnipeg. So Winnipeg, Sunday afternoon, we pull into the Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the Fort Garry is like the Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, the Banff Springs Hotel.
Oh, boy.
It's like 5-star. You walk in, the whole lobby is marble and everything else. So we pull in off the bus to get into the hotel. It's Sunday afternoon. It's around supper time. And we all go up to the front desk. I'm me, so I'm always the guy doing, okay, we're here. We're the band. We're going to be playing for the next couple nights down in the club that you've got. And as I'm doing this, I see a guy walk into the lobby, and he's dressed to the nines. He's got a tuxedo, beautiful. His hair is like immaculate. He is ready to go on TV. It's Robert Goulet.
No way.
Swear to God. But here's the funniest part of the whole thing. And I kid you not, swear to God, this is the truth. We're all milling around. Robert Goulet looks at us. Brent is over here. Brent and he walk together. They're about 3 feet apart. They look each other up and down, side to side, don't say a word. This goes on for 20 to 30 seconds. And then they walk up without exchanging a word. It was, and the rest of the band, we're at the front desk. We are dying. We're rolling on the floor. Because Brent walks over with a sneer going, this guy just, like, he pissed me right off. And it's Robert Goulet.
It's Robert Goulet, for Christ's sake, man. God, he was in the
airplane.
The
guy looked amazing. Just amazing. So anyway, so we do that, do the gig for the next 2 nights, a great gig. All the press in Winnipeg is out. Beautiful gig. We're ready. We're pumped to go to Toronto. We basically do the gig, and we pack up again 4 a.m. You know the routine. Pack up 4 a.m. We've got to be in Toronto the 2 days after that. So we're 4 a.m. We're driving. It's about a 30-hour drive to get to Toronto. We pull in to Toronto at noon on the day of the gig. I'm driving the van, pulling a trailer. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going down. I can't remember if it was Blue or Young, whatever it was, but we were showcasing at the Horseshoe Tavern. The Horseshoe is like
legendary.
Everybody who's anybody plays there. It's the showcase club. It's where all the record companies hang out. All the rest of the bands, Blue Rodeo, all those guys, everybody plays that place. And so we're playing at the Horseshoe, etc. So we pull in, and we're going down Blue or Young or whatever. I'm driving, and we're going, where do we go? Where do we go? And Andrew's there, and it's like, well, we have to turn left onto Young or Blue or something. And he goes, yeah, but it's a one-way. And this is like an intersection that's like 8 lanes. And he goes, yeah, well, it's a one-way. You can't turn left here. And I go, really? Hang on. And we turn left across 4 lanes of traffic. Andrew is screaming, laughing so hard. He goes, yeah, there we are. Cymbaluk turns left on Young and Blue or whatever it is. So we're at the Horseshoe, fast forward. We're setting up. Anybody who goes back and remembers our light man, Rolf Eichmann, was the crazy German, we called him. We're at the club at 1 o'clock. Rolf doesn't let us on stage to set up our stage gear. It's approaching 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's setting up the light show from heaven. God would be impressed because, and we're like, boom, we have to get back to the hotel room to take a shower at the No-Tell Motel on the seashore, on the river, on the lake shore. And we have to get back there. So everybody's getting tense. We finally set up the gear. We do a sound check. Everybody piles in. We're off to the No-Tell Motel. We take a quick shower and we're back. I don't sleep when we're traveling. I've been up for 48 hours.
Oh, man.
We have to be back for 8 o'clock. So Frank and I can do an interview with Erica M. from Much Music. She interviews us for over half an hour. I don't even have a voice. I'm hoarse from not sleeping, from traveling, etc. And it ends up being a 6-minute interview on Much Music because Erica M liked it so much. So here we are, and I've got clips of that. But so we do that. We go upstairs to play the gig. and you're pumped. The adrenaline's flowing. And I walk past the bar and, oh, hang on. I'm walking past the bar to go play. John Candy, Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, my God.
Catherine O'Hara.
Oh.
Sitting at the bar. I found out later they were the owners. And they heard the buzz and they wanted to see the band. They're all big music aficionados, blah, blah, blah. They were there the whole evening. All the record company people were there, every major record company label. We do our 2 sets. We do great. The buzz is in the adrenaline. The buzz is insane. Boom. And we've got 2 nights there. So thankfully we can all get back to the hotel because everybody's like just wasted. But leave it to us. Andrew White, Brent McNabb, and myself are rooming.
Oh yeah.
We get
no
back to the hotel room, and good friends of ours, Neo A4, Joel Anderson, John Tidswell, and stuff had just moved to Toronto, and were recording their first album there, and we wanted to see, and so we hooked up. I can't remember where we went. Something after hours, 4 a.m. We're there. We leave the hotel room. And we go out to see them 4 a.m. I haven't been sleeping for 2.5 days. But we're out to see these guys in Toronto. We have coffee, donuts, whatever. It's like 5:30, 6 o'clock. We go back to the hotel room. We flip for who's getting. There's 2 beds, and somebody has to sleep on the floor. Yeah. We flip coins. McNabb gets the sleeping bag on the floor. Andrew and I each get a bed. And you're going to think this is insane, but this is absolute God's honest truth. Oh, and I forgot, when we were leaving to go see Neo 84, as we went out to the van, we're walking up to the van and there's a dumpster. And Andrew White goes, "Oh, look, there's 2 raccoons in the dumpster." And he walks up going, "Hey, Rocky Raccoon." And the raccoon looks at Andrew and goes completely Cujo, like, like just like you have no idea, like it was insane. And Andrew jumps 6 feet back, and it's like, whoa. So that was Rocky Raccoon. So then we finally go see our buddies in Neo A4. We come back to hotel room 6 a.m. We do the flip. Andrew gets a bed. I get a bed, and Brent is on the floor. Lights go out. Let's get some sleep, guys. I was being kind of a vegan-y kind of guy then, as you know, eating a lot of healthy stuff. So I had a bag of nuts that I ate some, put it on the headboard of the bed. And all of a sudden the lights go out, and about 5 minutes later we hear, and we're like, "What's going on?" Andrew's like, "What's happening?" Lights go on. We can't see anything. And we don't know what's happening. So we go, we don't know. So lights go out again. And I'm lying there, and I feel something run from my toes all the way up my body, past my head, my head, and up to the headboard. And so so we opened up. We found out we had mice in the room. So all that happened. I said, "There's mice in the room." Lights go on. Andrew White, I swear to God, he loses it. He flips the mattress off the bed. He's chasing Mickey Mouse around the room. He's going to kill Mickey, and etc. Brent McNabb goes like this: "I'm going to bed," and he seals his sleeping bag on the floor completely. Goes to bed, and Andrew's losing it until we can't. So we threw the bag of trail mix in the corner of the room by the door. Let the mice have it, and we went to bed. Just
eat, have it, yeah.
So you can call that the most bizarre, the funniest,
oh my God,
the ugliest, the whatever you want to call it, but that's the God's honest truth, man. And if that's not a road story, I don't know what is.
I love that Brent just zipped up the bag.
He just zipped up the bag and went to bed.
Screw you guys. I'm going to sleep, man. I'm tired. That is awesome. My God, I walking in and seeing that trio there at the bar, I tell you, that would be enough to.
It was surreal. It was surreal because there was a bunch of bands. A couple of the guys from Blue Rodeo were there. A couple of bands from this. And the funny thing was, a few years later, FBR in Edmonton opened. I think the next year opened for Blue Rodeo in Edmonton. So,
It's weird how it all comes around like that too, doesn't
All
it?
comes
Yeah,
around. We
Jesus.
became great friends with all the guys in the Tragically Hip. Jake Gold and Alan Gregg became our managers. They were the Hips managers. It's a small group of people when you make that step up, and you do really start to get to know each other in a lot of respects, right? But in the horseshoe that night, all the musicians, it's like, you remember the sidetrack in Edmonton?
Yep, absolutely.
That's what the horseshoe was like of Toronto. So if you weren't playing, you were going to the track. In this case, you
Yeah.
were going to the shoe. And so if you're players, musicians, record company people, you just went there. That was what it was about.
That's so cool. I got a couple more questions for you. One is, how many drum kits have you owned that you've played? That's different from part 2. How many drum kits have you owned that you've played on stage over the years? Now, I'm guessing it's probably in between 10 and 15, knowing you.
10 and 15 drum kits I've owned and played on stage.
Yeah.
You'd have to do at least 10 times that.
Oh my, just because you own more drums than any human I know. Amazing vintage drums. You and who else does vintage drums? Mike Patchuluk's into vintage drums as well too. He's my guest on next week's show.
Ah, wonderful. I shop the world for vintage stuff. I know the vintage, so I can know when a good deal. I pick things up. I completely revitalize them, rejuvenate them, make them as close to new as I can, and resell them around the world. And I love it because I can't be retired. So I would go insane. So this, along with my 3 kids and 3 dogs and my wife and everything, my life is quite full and happy. And but yeah, I have played at least. I did a thing with Suicide Blonde where I tried to use a new drum kit every time we played.
That's why I was kind of leaning towards, because I remember seeing you posting about the gigs, and it would be like every time there's a new kit, and you at one time had literally the tiniest footprint of a drum kit I had ever seen. The amount of space that you took up was incredibly small and efficient for what you were doing.
I had everything. Nuts. I had everything on a rack that mushroomed out, and the rack itself took up a riser that was 3 feet wide by 5 feet deep.
Oh man, that's nuts!
And I'll never forget one night we were playing the King's Head in Calgary, and Andrew was in town mixing Crash Karma, which was Jeff Burrows and stuff from Tea Party, Mike from Our Lady Peace, and whatchamacallit singing, Edwin singing.
Oh yeah.
That was Crash Karma. He brought them all to the club afterwards, and Amir Epstein, that was it, the bass player, Amir Epstein and Jeff Burrows were just like, they were floored by this drum kit with this 3 foot by 5 foot footprint. And they were just enamored with that. So, yeah.
I could appreciate taking a small amount of space on stage, because I'm currently playing in a band with Eric Young.
Yeah. And what an amazing talent. But yes.
Yeah, he's got a big kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got his Ludwig Vista lights.
I would hazard a guess that I've owned over 500 drum kits.
Oh, man.
And I would say that I've probably played half of them live.
That's amazing. I mean, and your feel, your tone, your snap, everything you got, man. I mean, you are the loudest drummer I've ever played with, period. You are solid as a rock, and just the feel, everything. It was such a treat working with you, and just even to this day, I still shake my head and like I said, I'm blessed to have worked with you guys in that situation at that time, and even more so blessed to call you a friend, buddy. I mean that. You taught me so much. You taught me so much over the years that and then you do this kind of thing too, where you you like to. It took me a couple. I know it took me a couple of years to finally get that jersey to you, but
look how good that jersey looks.
Damn, it looks good. Yeah, that does look good. I love it, Brian. What can I say other than I love you?
I love you too, Mike. Absolutely. Sincerely, we have spent a number of years now as friends, my brother. Absolutely.
Getting choked here. Let's stop that stuff. Okay. I truly, I mean, I learned the amount of knowledge I've soaked in from you has helped my career, helped me outside my career, helped me as a man, as a person, everything. And and I know that we had a good relationship over the years, and I know that I pushed your buttons a few times. I was I was a less than exemplary employee a lot of times. I admit that. I mean, but I had a lot of fun, and I really did enjoy working with you for years. And really, honest to God, if I hadn't taken that step and you had that chance where you brought me in, I don't think I would have learned to do what I do that I can do now, or the way I can do it now. I learned.
Yeah.
You put me in a position where it was like, you better learn something if you're going to make some money, dude. And so I learned MIDI, and
absolutely.
And 30 years later, I'm still using it to trigger my lights, my vocal effects, my harmonies, my videos, everything live. So it's become an invaluable tool, and you help express that language to me.
I'll tell you, I'll leave you with an anecdotal sort of little story. My wife, amazing lady, she's with me, and she's wiser beyond your years. She's half my age, but she's amazing. And she said to me once, and it rang so true. She said, like Lisa said, your life, at the end of your life, it's just the sum of all the doors you walk through, that you open and you walk through. And that was a doorway that you opened and walked through. And that changed your life, dude, forever. Just like every major thing you do in life, And dude, I love you.
It's been awesome talking to you today, Brian. It really
Awesome
has. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. I can't thank you enough for being a guest on my show here tonight. And I
thank you for having
how
me.
the time just boom disappears. It's been an hour and 3 minutes. So I've been with you for 50 minutes, and I love you, and I can't thank you enough again for doing the show here tonight. And before we go, what's in the future? What's in the future, Brian?
Future, I'm happily being semi-retired, running my little hobby business with drums and enjoying my family to the nth degree. It's been an interesting year with this whole thing. My wife and I, mostly my wife, had to become a teacher off the cuff, etc. So we've been adapting, but adapted well. And I'll tell you, it's an interesting, wonderful thing to also, when we look at the bad stuff that's going on, the good things are, in certain ways, it's bringing our families closer together. We spend more time together. We learn to love better. And maybe these are some of the good things that'll come out of all of this.
That's good news. That's good to hear. And we didn't use that C word today. That's the one rule of the show. I keep forgetting to put that graphic up. Where have I got it here? Oh, I don't have it. I put it on the intro, I think. Yeah, no politics, no COVID, no BS.
No.
That's kind of the rule of the show here. Again, I can't thank you enough. Brian Cymbaluk, musician, entrepreneur, dear friend, much respected. Thank you for being a guest on my show here today, bud. I love you.
I love you, Mike. Thank you.
All my best to Lisa and your 3 boys, and you take care. And one day soon, I'll be seeing you, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Brian Cymbaluk. Thanks for tuning in here tonight, and cheers, my friend.
I'll say goodbye, and I'll let you to finish your show.
Thank you very much. Take care,
Thank
Brian.
you. Bye.
Well, folks, how about that? I got to play something because I'm... I know I say this every time. I said this with Carrie Animal, my friend Mike, and Darren May last week, but I'll say it again. I love these guys. I love these guys a lot. And just thinking about I should have had a sandwich before I started having my little drink here. So this is the booze talking a little bit. Brian, the strongest handshake of any man that has ever shook my hand. Bring me to my knees. Brian Cymbaluk, the man who, no matter what I do to ruin his day, if I show up with a Slurpee from 7-Eleven, this is years ago, but it seemed to make it all better, and truly invaluable things like messages, sales, what I learned from him being my boss, and how to invaluable lessons. Thank you cards. I started sending out thank you cards to my gigs and stuff. I would play a gig, and then when I was done, before I would even leave that town, that city, I would put the thank you card in the local mailbox, so they received it Monday, Tuesday of the following week, and would be impressed that I got a thank you card. Thank you for the gig. Bring me back. And I learned all that stuff from Brian. So it's immeasurable what it's done for me in my career. So anyway, enough of that. Thanks again, Brian. Big love. Big love, you know. Otherwise I would have just ended up like this.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Yep. That would have been me there. Anyway, okay. I've gone way over time once again. I'm really trying to keep this show down to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, folks, but I am not having a good run of it at keeping it, because it's just too engaging having this conversation with these friends of mine. I thank you so much for all tuning in. I've got a follow-up road story, but we've already gone an hour and 8 minutes. I'm going to just let it go with that, and just say I'd like to mention one more time here tonight, thanks again to my sponsor for the show here tonight, for this week's show, Fortification Security Solutions. Protects you like a fort should. Fort C. McMurray. Fort McMurray. That's his real name, folks. And he'll pull his driver's license out and show it to you. And he loves doing that. And he is one of the best men on the planet. A very nice guy. And will set you up and help get your stuff settled. So, we've got next week's show confirmed. August 3rd, next Monday. I'm featuring my special guest, Mike Patchaluk. He, former drummer, and also was my old sound man in Dirty Urge, from one of the first rock A-room bands that I played in. And he went on to work with, God, who hasn't he worked with? Everybody. He was the road manager for Trooper for a long time. And is now currently the drum tech for Mickey, who is the drummer for Brian Adams. You might have heard of him. So he's been touring the world, working with Brian Adams and doing other shows and that. And he's a dear friend, and he's got some great stories to tell as well, too. He'll be my guest next week on August 3rd. The week after that, how lucky am I to get Ms. Kennedy Jensen. How did I get so lucky for this? I cannot believe she said yes. August 10th, Miss Kennedy Jensen, Klondike Kate. You may know her from Jensen Interceptor. I know her as Edmonton Music Royalty. And she's got a couple of stories that she's going to pass along as well. And August 17th, I don't think he knows it yet, but I'm going to have to call him and tell him, my good friend from Scrubble O'Kane, from Small Wonder, from the John Entwistle Band, and 2 albums as the lead singer of Prism, Mr. Henry Small will be my guest to tell some old stories from the early 70s when he was in the Edmonton band Cannonball as well, too, who used to work around the Edmonton circuit in the mid to late 70s. This guy's been on Bert Sugarman's Midnight Special, for crying out loud. Amazing talent. Coming up a few weeks after that, another dear friend, Keith Retson Spalding, again from the Joint Chiefs, but you might know him as the singer and keyboard player in Click. Click, probably the best cover band that ever was on this planet, period. I'm saying it. They are the best. They were the best, and he's a great guy. So please, once again, go to my YouTube page and subscribe there. I am on Instagram as well. And leave me a comment. Say thank you very much. And you know what? I might wrap it up here now.
How dare you?
Well, that's just the way it's going to have to go there, Greta. I mean, you know, it's been an hour and 11 minutes. I can't just keep talking here. So I'm going to hold off. Party Hog Basement Show coming up on Wednesday night. I'm going to try a couple of new songs that I've never played live before, and it could be scary. But one of them is a brand new song that's actually came out in the last year. So look at me being all modern and crap. Again, my thanks to my special guest here tonight, Mr. Brian Cymbaluk, and much love to him, his three boys and his wife, Lisa, and I kept it pretty PG tonight. I know that you guys are expecting the big potty mouth kind of Road Yahoo story kind of thing, but I wanted to keep it a little bit tamer here tonight because I know his boys were watching. So I much respect, much love for that, and I thank you all. Look at me, get my buttons back up there, and I'm looking at what have I got left. Is there something I haven't hit yet? Oh yeah, this one.
Good night, Springton. There will be no encores.
That's right, no encores. So much. Once again, thanks again, much love. Partyhog.com. Where is it? There it is, partyhog.com. For more basement shows, 17 basement shows we've done. We got number 18 coming up on Wednesday. And I can't count. I thought this was show number 2, Road Story, but it's 3 actually, so I'm a doofus. But thanks again. I appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Peace and love. Peace and love. Keep your stick on the ice. And I'll be back with more stories. And Mr. Mike Patchuluk next Monday night at 8 p.m., but I'll see you on Wednesday on the Party Hog Basement Show. Thanks again, everybody. We'll take that little thing out. We'll take that bug out. And then I hit this one. And watch what happens. It goes. Good night, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. Love you guys.
Good night, Springton. There will be no encores.